In a subscription model, customers are paying a recurring fee at specified intervals for access to a product or service. And this model is pretty attractive because it encourages repeat revenues and makes forward planning easier for the companies or the organizations that are working with them. Now, for organizations that sell access to digital content, this model is particularly attractive because the cost of supplying the service to an additional customer is essentially zero because it's digitally produced content. But they're also popular with customers because the right subscription models allow them to spread the cost of access rather than having to pay for it all up front, which can be a barrier in some settings. Now, subscription models come in a wide variety of different flavors. And at their simplest, they offer like a basic all or nothing option, such as a subscription to the Time magazine or Amazon Prime or Netflix. You pay and you get access to everything. Now, one advantage to that flat rate is simplicity. The whole business is generally oriented around one known pricing structure, and it's a predictable way of running a business. But it can potentially limit the breadth of the customer base, particularly if there is a price point that is seen to be unattractive or unobtainable to a large percentage of potential users. Now, one way to boost flat rate subscription revenue is to provide the option of add-ons. So Sky Sports, for example, provides the option for customers and non-customers to buy one-time access to Premier League football matches. So it's for a higher per match cost than if you were a subscriber, but you get access nonetheless. Now, this provides another way to attract a broader customer base into the subscription sales funnel, but it also gives access to customers to specific elements of content that they want if the whole subscription package isn't appealing. So, if I'm a Liverpool fan and I only want to watch Liverpool games, I don't have to subscribe to the whole of a TV football package. I can just buy the ones that I want. Now, it's more common for organisations to offer a range of subscription access options these days rather than an all or nothing approach. And this can make the product or service much more attractive to a wider possible audience. Now, one popular approach to this is to design subscription models that are tiered based on the principles of good, better and best, or in other examples you may have seen it as gold, silver and bronze. And it's an approach that's been around for decades and shows up from anything from car washes to cable TV. And according to Price Intelligently, which is a pricing consultancy, companies with those structured pricing tiers consistently have a higher average revenue per user than those organizations that don't use them. So let's look at it in a bit more detail. So the aim of a tiered model is to take a core product and offer a budget and premium version of the same product in order to grow the market. So let's look at some examples of that. So Spotify, the music streaming company, has a core product which is a $9.99 unlimited subscription. But it also offers a freemium ad-supported subscription, which is the good version, if you like. If the $9.99 version is better, freemium would be good, and then they also offer a family account, which would be the best. In the good, better, best model for $14.99. And even with that model, some models you'll find an organization is trying to run the business on the basis of the revenues earned from better and best. With Spotify, the freemium version still provides revenue for them through advertising in the same way that YouTube might. So all three options earn them money. If you look at Adobe, that's another good example. They sell a wide range of software aimed mainly at the creative industries. And originally the company sold physical CDs of the products, the software, which was bought on as a one-off basis. And then every time a user needed to upgrade, they had to get the next CD, and it was mildly hasslesome. But in 2014, Adobe switched to a download subscription only model. And it had a wide range, and still does have a wide range of tailored monthly subscriptions. It's worth going online and just looking at the way they do that. Just go to adobe.com and see the range of different subscriptions that they have. Now, since they did that, since the switch, Adobe's revenues have grown significantly. I mean, if you again go online, look at the the share price and the revenue since 2014. And they've gone through the roof. And I think one of the reasons for that is that that software traditionally was very expensive when you were buying it as a one-off. But now, for a fairly modest fee, you can get access to a wider range of products that is spread across a year, the cost of which is spread across a year. Now, if you're an independent designer, that's really attractive. And that's been one of the factors that has influenced their growth through a subscription model. So there are a few notable benefits to working with subscriptions. One important danger to be aware of, I just want to run you through, but let's start with the benefits. So first, many organizations underestimate the dramatic increase in margins that you can achieve with like a premium offering, which is beyond what you usually do. You know, the usual offering, the good, better, best, going for the best offering. Often we back away from because we think people won't want to pay for it. But existing customers are actually given a pathway to spend more when you provide that. And often there is a new cohort of higher spenders that emerges that you never really considered. Now, when the premium option can be delivered for very little extra cost, but with significantly more margin or higher price, it can unlock, well, let's say sometimes unimaginable levels of profitability. You can suddenly tap into a small gold mine of customers who are actually prepared to pay more than perhaps you'd thought of before. Now, understanding the real value of what the customers want in context is the key there. So customer insight is really, really important. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, a lower priced, more basic version of a core product can also open up sales to more price sensitive or dormant customers. For this segment, the core product is out of reach, usually for cost reasons, but they're still willing to access a more modest version of it at a lower price. And again, understanding what matters most to customers allows an organization to tailor different offerings to different markets at different prices. And there's another potential benefit to offering a more basic version of the core product, and that is that it can trigger demand for complementary products and services. So Apple's iPhone 8 is a really good example. So if you go onto the Apple store today, you want to buy an iPhone 8, it costs £479. Now you compare that to the £1,149 for the iPhone 11 Pro Max. There's a significant difference there in potential revenue that Apple could earn. But even at the lowest price point, what Apple knows is that it's extremely likely that customers are going to generate more revenue by virtue of the fact that they're bound to use iTunes, they're bound to use iCloud, and they're going to buy accessories as well that go around it. So there are these other additional revenue streams because they've created an ecosystem around both of those products. So whichever one you buy, there is still an upside and further revenue to be gained. Now, one of the other benefits of a tiered subscription is that it moves customers out of a buy, don't buy mentality, meaning that more customers may sign up than if they were only given the option to buy or not to buy. And having choices generally creates a sense of empowerment amongst users, which is known to increase customer engagement and to stimulate sales. So giving them that choice on subscriptions is really powerful. The other thing about giving customers choices is that they're drawn into exploring the product by comparing different options, and it's a psychological point. So this can help customers. Well, this can help customers convince themselves which option to buy rather than whether to buy at all. So as you start to explore different options, you're thinking about the product, you're thinking about yourself using the product, you're thinking about, would I use this level or that level? You're already imagining yourself using the product, and that's part of the process. Now, there's a pricing expert called Ravi Mohammed who says that once customers have made the mental shift to use a product, they typically treat the budget version as a sunk cost, which makes them more amenable to upgrading. So actually, as you start to imagine yourself using the product, what he's saying is customers tend to at least choose the core option or the best option. So those are some of the important benefits of exploring subscription business models, but there is one important downside to be aware of. And that is if new offerings aren't constructed and priced correctly, customers can trade down, which will hurt profit. Now, there's a few stories out there of software companies who have tried this. They've looked at the subscription model. They've gone for a 3-tier model. Their core product is in the middle. A premium model is offered, and they also offer a lower end version. And too much value is put into the lower end version. And what's happened is that customers have traded down. They thought, well, why are we paying this high price when we can actually get most of the functionality from the lower priced version? And there are a few companies out there who have been stung by not designing it properly. So you have to be aware of that. And the goal really of adding a lower version, a lower standard version, is to pick up budget-minded customers without losing revenue from existing ones. Or if your good offering is a freemium service, the goal is to create widespread access, which is funded by the better and the best models. Now, one of the things to think about here then is what are let's call them fences in between your offerings. They have to be designed well to avoid these trade-offs that customers can sometimes make. And in the commercial world, these fences that stop people from downgrading, the psychology behind it is about, let's make it as difficult as possible, let's make it as unappealing as possible, let's make it a really painful choice so that people don't make that decision. So there are some thoughts around the subscription model. There are varying estimates out there around how much revenue you should typically expect to make between the good, the better and the best. The rule of thumb really though is that there's usually more money out there to be made. If we think about offering 3 different versions of the same thing, 3 is a good rule of thumb to think about in terms of subscription levels. Too many becomes too complicated. You can bring it down to 2, but 3 is generally a good starting point. But often there is a sense amongst experts in this area that there is too much money left on the table because premium versions aren't offered, which could significantly increase revenues. So there are some thoughts on subscription models.